ओम सर्वधर्म स्थापकस्तं सर्वधर्म स्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. You have been reading this fourth chapter of Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, as the spiritual teacher, first part. And in that, a great point has been discussed by Swami Saradananda. Thakur's Guru Bhav is not only his vocal teaching, but also he shows it in his life. And the Guru Bhav means what people should do, that Thakur is teaching, that is Guru Bhav. And there, the big question he has taken is, why did he marry? And the question why comes in our mind because he had no idea of enjoyment. So why did he marry? And we know that he never wanted to give the least trouble to anybody. So why would he give trouble to a girl, marrying her and not doing anything for her? So the question comes. And the tentative answers discussed by him, or which come to our mind and which are not correct, is that or because his relatives said so, that is rejected. Because he had a desire to enjoy, that is rejected. Because he had to suffer the prarabdha, that is also rejected. So the question now comes, why did he marry? And what Sri Ramakrishna said about it, that we have to understand. And what Sardhan Swamiji analytically finds out, that we have to understand. So the last sentence of the paragraph we read last time we read paragraph 7, 1, 2, 3, 4 point within that 7 and B within that 4. 7, 4B we were reading. And there, the last line I would change a little, the translation. The last line was, therefore, we have to take a different decision about the master's marriage which we give below. I would say, according to Bengali, it is not a decision taking. We have to analytically find out a different reason. We have to analytically find out a different reason for Thakur's marriage, which we give below. Now there, one answer he has given immediately. But then some other points he has also raised which Thakur said, and then gives the real reason. So the next sub-para of para, that is 4C, the master's joking about his marriage. Now, joking Thakur did, but the lesson is not a joke. A very serious problem he deals with by joke. So the joking should not be taken lightly. Otherwise, Sardhan Sanju would not have mentioned it. He is not increasing the volume of the book by making us laugh. The master talked to us on the topic of his marriage on several occasions. So himself has said something and joked about it. That was also very sweet. That joking about marriage also was very sweet. What is sweet? And what is the joke? That is not something to taste which is sweet. What is sweet? And what is a joke? Something which should give joy, first of all, to be sweet. Okay? And it should not be an ordinary worldly joy. Thakur's Guru Bhav. His jokes are a great Guru Bhav. So that joy should lift our mind towards the higher ideal. Then it is sweet, really sweet. Thakur joked, that means in a light-hearted way, he is telling very serious things. And because he is telling in a light-hearted way, they may laugh. But it will not end in love. That will give them inner joy. That is why he is calling sweet. And that will raise their minds. Now let us see what Thakur said. One day at Dakshineshwar, he sat down to take his food, and Balram Basu and a few other devotees sat and conversed with him. Why? That day the Holy Mother had started for Kamarpukur for a stay of a few months. For it was the occasion of the marriage of the Master's nephew Ramlal. Otherwise, Holy Mother used to feed Thakur. She used to bring his food, she used to cook, she used to bring his food, and she would feed him. Feed him means not putting in his mouth, but sit near him, serve him. And that lies the great difference. The master to Balaram. Well, just tell me why marriage for me. So Thakur is making them understand that it is not an ordinary thing. So he raises the question, what is the need for a wife? Why does a man need wife? Two reasons you can state. He feels incomplete without wife. And he wants to enjoy. These two things are included. No, Thakur is not incomplete. Thakur is complete. And Thakur has no desire to enjoy in the worldly sense. So Thakur himself is telling that why a wife for one who does not know where the cloth he is wearing is? Understand the hint that he has no body consciousness. A man is very particular about the cloth he wears because of his body consciousness. Balram smiled and kept silent. He could not reply. Master, the master. Oh, I see. He's finding a reason, demonstrating a reason. Taking up a little vegetable from the plate and showing it to Balram. It is for this there was marriage. Otherwise, who would cook for me this way? Why did he require cooking in a particular way? First of all, he is a man of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But he wants to remain in the world because mother has told him to be in Bhavu. For that, he has to sustain his body. And nobody else in the world could understand how to feed him. That Thakur knows. So he is showing this vegetable, it is for this. You understand for this? Thakur is explaining that. Balram and the other devotees laughed. They could not catch the drift. Really, who would have cared to see how I took my food? How I took my food, who cared to see? Mathura could not come and show him. Hriday could not manage that. They went away today. They means somebody. The devotees did not understand who went. Thakur told in such a way. Then Thakur is telling, Ramlal's aunt, not my wife, Ramlal's aunt. Do you understand? Ramlal is going to be married. So they have all gone to Kamarpukur. I stood and looked down and felt nothing. So Thakur's nature is transcendent. Felt nothing. Somebody's wife is going away and he has felt nothing. Really, it was as if just someone went. No possessive, no relationship, bhavatit bhav. Neither possessive, my wife, nor any relation. That is Thakur's real nature. Through joke also he is showing his real nature on one side, and then comes the other side. But afterwards there was some anxiety. Anxiety because he has to keep his body. As to who would cook for me? No other cook would have done. Even in Thakur's serious illness, they had to take mother there. Don't you say, all kinds of food do not agree with my stomach. And sometimes there is not consciousness enough to take food. 2 points. Suitable and his mind should be there to take food. He is not conscious of the body at all. She, the Holy Mother, knows what kinds of food suit me. She makes this or that preparation. That is why the anxiety arose as to who would do it. And already I said, how I eat, that also she knows. How to make him eat was mother's art. Otherwise, if your mind flows in samadhi, the food will remain there. She used to talk with him, converse with him, keep his mind down, and then feed him. Now Thakur tells one general reason, which will not be true for Thakur. In that very series of so many reasons, he has kept this apart because Thakur has told this. For completing the 10 sanctifying ceremonies which the ordinary religious teacher must undergo to have the fullest experience of the word. No. Again he has given no. That means for this reason, no. So he said we shall analyze and give the final answer. He introduced it, but he has yet to tell it. One more not correct reason he is giving. Dasha sanskaras are talked of in Hinduism. And unless a man has undergone all that, he cannot become a guru or a paramahamsa. No, it is not necessary that in one life he spent. Hence all this. Otherwise, sannyasis could not never have become perfect. Some people are of that opinion, you know. There was one great social reformer in Maharashtra, Justice Ranade. And he wrote an article that the sannyasis don't have experience of the world because they do not marry. They are incomplete. They don't have experience. To which Swamiji has given a scathing reply for removing that address. It was address given on a big occasion, the social conference address. Swamiji says, if whatever comes to the mind, one has to do, then if one has not done robbery, this and that, then he is not full. How do you include this? And if one does not marry, that we'll discuss later on. Who will continue the Brahma's creation? That you need not worry. And if somebody is needed to continue Brahma's creation, others are needed to check it back. If it becomes busy in creating Brahmas and no sannyasi, then the world will go to hell. So these 10 sanskaras are not necessarily to be done in one life. Let us read. Raising the topic of his marriage, one day at Dakshineshwar, the master said, do you know why one has to marry? He did not say why I married. Why one has to marry? There are 10 kinds of sanctifying ceremonies for a Brahmin's body. And marriage is one of them. It is only when one has performed all of them that one can become a religious teacher. He used to say again, one who becomes a man of perfect knowledge, Paramahansa, one side Guru, one side Paramahansa, perfection, has finished experiencing all states from those of the scavengers and sweepers to those of kings and emperors. So this also is not in one life. Though with sannyasi it does happen. In Ramakrishna Mission, in TC, you are taught to do sanitary work. And when you grow up, you are called Maharajas. Maharajas, not only Rajas. So you are experiencing all that. How otherwise could true dispassion come? The mind will feel eager to experience that which it has not experienced. We have experienced infinite times before. And will become restless. Do you understand? A piece has to move through all the squares before it reaches the home. That is the, what is called that? A game of dice or like that. Chaupat. Have you not seen it at the time of play? It is similar. She has floated this idea for an ordinary teacher. Now Saradananda Swami gives the correct reply. Here he has said no. The purpose of the Hindu marriage is to lead man through enjoyments not incompatible with religion to renunciation. Gita Shlok. Vibhuti Yoga, it is being chanted today. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Desires. I am desire, which is not opposed to religion. So for an ordinary man, or for a man in general, the religion knows our desires. But how to fulfill it in the right manner, that they teach. It is not like animals. It should not be like animals. So, now, enjoyment not incompatible with religion. Now we are enjoying and exercising a lot of control over that, following religious rules over that. That will lead to renunciation. If we indiscriminately enjoy, we will never go to renunciation. Why we are enjoying? Because there is a desire. And if you allow free rein to that desire, that will go on increasing. We are enjoying because man is incomplete, he has desires. But when the desire he fulfills, as sanctioned by religion, under several controls, then there is a chance that he will come out of it. That is the purpose of Hindu marriage. Hindu marriage. So during that marriage ceremony also, so many rules are taught to the husband and wife. So many. That is why the ceremony is there. That is why that sanskar is there. Although the master stated this as the reason for the marriage of an ordinary teacher of religion, that the sanskaras, we shall now explain the special reason for the master's marriage. So that may be true for an ordinary teacher or Paramahansa, may not be in this very life, but that is a factor. Now, in order to understand that, first let us understand why there is marriage in anybody's life. And to show that ideal Thakur married. Show that thing in the most ideal way Thakur married, to set an example. You don't know, Thakur's this ideal has helped so many people. A new idea in this age, which was never said before by any incarnation. Thakur telling, that will be discussed here. Thakur telling after 1, 2 or 3 children, the husband and wife should live like brothers and sisters. This sentence has helped so many people in front of me. Otherwise, they would have groped in darkness. They would not have understood whether we should marry or not marry. Innumerable people I have seen who have progressed in their spiritual life because of this teaching of Thakur. How many shall I quote? Let me not know. The scriptures teach us at every step that the purpose of marriage is not enjoyment. Purpose is not enjoyment. Scriptures. Scriptures are teaching. Man may marry for enjoyment, but scriptures are telling it is not enjoyment. To observe the rule of maintaining the creation of God, that is one side. And produce virtuous children. If you follow the rules, then you produce virtuous children. Swamiji has said, if the mother and father have not followed many rules, then the child is not Aryan. And thereby do good to society should be the purpose of the Hindu marriage. So scriptures tell why you marry. You have to maintain the line of creation and produce virtuous children, and that is doing good to this. I will tell you a humor again. Mahaprabhuji's humor. One old lady, oldish lady, with her daughter-in-law, that lady's son had died. So that daughter-in-law had become a widow. And that mother-in-law brings her to Mahaprabhuji and introduces in this way, Mother, Maharaj, she has become a widow today. And Mahapurush Maharaj exclaims, "Oh, widow, wonderful. Widow, very good. Widow, very good." Then Mahapuruji's attention goes to that lady, that she is not a widow. In Bengali, Vidava, Sadava. Sadava means one who has a husband. Vidava means whose husband is gone. Then he says, "Oh, Sadhva is also very good, Vidva is also very good." Again and again he repeats, Sadhva is also very good and Vidva is also very good. And people are laughing. It is a joke. Joke means for Mahapuruji everything is all right. Akhandan Swami has come to mud that day. And it has become a joke and discussion throughout the mud. So when he enters, sadhus tell him, "Do you know what Mahapurush Maharaj said today? Sadhu also is good and Vidva is also." He caught that idea and he rushed to Mahapuruji. And Dada, what I have heard today. Then Mahapuruji is explaining. It is Vidvas who have kept religion in the country, is it not? All the observances, Vidvas are following. Now it has all gone. Mahapuruji's time I am telling. You know that? You have seen that scene? That society? No. You have seen? I had two Bal Vidva aunts. My father's two sisters were widowed in childhood. And in Maharashtra, they remain like a sannyasi. They shave their head, they put on red cloth and are attached to Ramdasi Sampradaya. And they observe so many Ekadashis, this, that, everything. And take some mantra and do japa and bhajan. That was throughout India. So Mahapuruji is telling Vidvas have kept religion. And then Sadhvas, it is Sadhvas only who bring Mahapurushas into life. World, otherwise who would have brought? Suppose nobody had married, then how the people would have been born? The great ones or small ones, they want to be born. They require somebody to marry, and then they will be born. Akhandan Swami is telling, Dada, I don't want explanation. It is beyond you only to see that everything is good. But he's telling, have I said something wrong? Vidvas are kept of religion and sadhvas bring the Mahapurushas into this world. This is what is stated here. That is the purpose of marriage according to Hindu. These scriptures tell us this again and again. Now Sardanji is very much a man of this world. His feet are down on this line. He knows all our nature. Do these scriptures, will the Hindu then have no self-interest in his marriage? Do the scriptures teach such absurd things? No, they do not. The authors of the scriptures saw everything down to the innermost stratum of the character of weak human beings. They are guiding men. They know the weak human beings and knew that they do not care for anything in the world except self-interest. You are asking whether they have no self-interest. Their life itself is self-interest. And that they are not ready to undertake anything without calculating profit and loss. Experienceth with discrimination lead at the right moment to the knowledge. Pleasure comes with a crown of thorns on its head. That is Swamiji's expression. That means pleasure comes with pain always. We don't understand this unless we continue discrimination. Even while enjoyment, we have to continue discrimination. The, the, the authors of the scriptures taught what was mentioned above with the full knowledge of what they were doing, with the full knowledge of what they were doing, for they also knew that it would be for the good of the people if they could keep that self-interest always hitched to a higher motive. That is the method. You have a self-interest, but attach that self-interest to some higher motive. Then that higher motive will grow in you. If self-interest is left free, it will take you to destruction. Men would otherwise be entangled in the bondage of birth and death and suffer endless pain. Aim of life is mukti for any person whatsoever. Man runs after the sensuous enjoyments of sight, taste, etc. of the world and thinks them to be very pleasing and very beautiful only because he has forgotten his own nature. Ajnana, succumbing to ajnana, he thinks like this, which is eternally free, that is his nature, but he does not know it, and so he thinks for pleasure. On the first page of Karma Yoga, Swamiji has told, knowledge is our goal, pleasure cannot be the goal. Because knowledge once comes, it does not go, pleasure comes and goes. But how few people can ascertain that all pleasure is connected forever with pain, and that if one wants to enjoy pleasure, one will have to be simultaneously ready to suffer pain also. Swami Vivekananda used to say, pleasure comes to people with a crown of thorns on its head. But people do not think like that, though it is a fact of life. People who are busy enjoying pleasure only have no leisure to think that it has a crown of thorns on its head, and that they will have to be ready to hug pain also if they welcome pleasure as their own. In that very Karma Yoga first page, Swamiji has also explained, the cause of misery is that we expect pleasure as to be powerful. That itself is the cause of our misery. Therefore, the scriptures remind them of this fact and say, children, why do you consider the attainment of pleasure to be your interest? If pleasure is accepted, pain also has to be welcomed. Why do you not turn your self-interest to a higher account and think that both pleasure and pain are your teachers? And that true self-interest or the aim of life is to be delivered for all eternity from both of them. Go beyond pleasure and pain, that is like saying, both are teachers. The aim of the authors of the scriptures is evidently to harness discrimination between good and evil, the permanent and the impermanent, etc. Shiva Shubha Vivek, then Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivek, etc. means Satya Satya Vastu Vivek, finally. With the enjoyments of the married life, harness discrimination with enjoyments of the married life. And by making man go around the inevitable experience of pain and pleasure to lead him on to a thorough dispassion for the seeming momentary pleasures of this world. So through discrimination, he has led above, so that he may be filled with a genuine love of God. Otherwise, genuine love of God does not come unless renunciation. And go forward with great eagerness to be blessed with his vision, God's vision. That is the blessing. There is no pain. taking him to be the essence of all essences, Sarat Sar. There is no doubt about the fact that the mind will give up what it enjoys with discrimination. The master taught how to urge the mind to give up the pleasure of worldly enjoyments. This is why the master said, children, the discrimination between the real and the unreal is very necessary. Very necessary, real and unreal. What is real? God alone is real. What is unreal? Everything else is unreal. One should always have discrimination and say to one's mind, you mind are eager to enjoy many things, to eat this, to put on that, but discriminate and see that the five elements out of which potatoes, rice, pulses, etc. are made are also the ingredients of sandesh, rasgulla and other delicious sweets. Are they different? Nothing. Panchabhutas. Again, the bodies of yourself and all other persons, as also of animals such as a cow, a goat, and a sheep, are made of the very bones, flesh, blood, and marrow, derived from the five elements of which the beautiful bodies of women are made. Bodies of women are made from the same Panchatattva, from which animal's body is made. Your body is made. Does not people do not think that way. Why then do you crave and die for them? For sweets or for women? They by no means will lead you to the realization of God. That is why fixed as the aim of life, whether a householder or any older. The existence, knowledge, bliss, that is God. God is not a person, God is existence, knowledge, bliss. If the mind cannot desist from them, then they should be enjoyed once or twice with due discrimination, and then finally renounced. Take this example. The mind persists in the desire to eat rasgulla and by no means obeys the reins. All your discrimination is as it were being washed off. Then bring some rasgullas, put them into your mouth, and say to the mind when masticating and eating them and moving them from side to side inside the mouth, mind, this is what is called rasgulla. This is also made of a combination of the five elements of which potatoes and patols are made. This patol is a typical Bengali vegetable, but it is throughout India available. Name may differ. What is Marathi name? Parval. Parabola. Array, it is parabola. Parabola made from parval. What is parabola? Mathematics I am going. That eccentricity is +1. Then it becomes a parabola. And that is the shape. From that only Paravalai. Paravalai is the original Sanskrit name. Valai is circle. Paravalai means greater circle. That has become Parval. Patol in Bengali. Anyway. This also when eaten will be converted and then only up to the tongue. The moment it goes in, this also will be converted into blood, flesh, feces and urine. That you know, that the gross part of every food goes out. Goes out means is made into feces and urine. And blood, flesh within the body. It is sweet as long as it is in the mouth. You will not feel the taste when it goes below the throat. Again, if you eat too much of it, you will fall ill. And you are so intensely hankering after such a thing, fie upon you. Thakur is not telling this. Thakur is telling us to tell mind like this. Now that you have taken it, don't want to eat it again. Looking at the devotees who were to renown the world, now for sannyasis, something adding. You do add. It is not for all. It is only with regard to small matter that one can give them up after enjoying them with discrimination. But with regard to big things, this is not possible. Understand? If you marry or have sex, then not come out of it by this type of discrimination. One gets entangled as soon as one begins to indulge in their enjoyment. That is why such desires should be driven away from the mind by discriminating and finding out their defects. Finding out the defects of enjoyment, one should discriminate. Not doing that. This he has written. Looking at the devotees who are to renounce the world, it is clear that this is not for general man. The present national degradation of the Hindus is due to the non-observance of continence in married life. In Prashnopanishad, this is so nicely discussed that if the grihasthas follow certain rules about sexual enjoyment, then they will be treated as brahmacharis. That is what Prashnopanishad says. Oh, how few are the people who entertain that high idea in their minds at the present time, though the scriptures speak of it in glowing terms. How few are those who make themselves and society blessed by observing continence in married life according to capacity. How few are the wives who stand by the side of their husbands, urging them to undertake this high vow beneficent to the people, let alone speaking of the realization of God. Wives helping for the realization of God is far away, but follow the rules. How few are the husbands again who know so much as that the aim of life is renunciation and teach it to their wives? Alas, India, just try to know India is bringing. India in certain Swamiji's mind is sadhana. Alas, India, just try to think and see into what a spineless beast you have been converted by the doctrine of Western materialism, which regards worldly enjoyments as the be-all and end-all of life, and which has entered into your very marrow. Was it without any reason that Sri Ramakrishna said to his world-renouncing devotees, pointing out to them the defects in modern married life? If it is wrong to make the enjoyment of worldly objects the summum bonum of life, then do you think simply throwing a few flowers at the time of marriage will make it pure or free from all blemishes? It is indeed doubtful whether indulgence in sexual pleasure in married life was ever so excessive as it is now in India. At the present time, we have almost forgotten that beside the satisfaction of the senses, there is a very sacred and high purpose of marriage. And this is why we are reducing ourselves to beings worse than beasts. It is only in order to destroy this beastliness of men and women of modern India that the master, the teacher of the people, was married. Like all the other acts of his life, this act of marriage also was performed for the good of all. Now, in this regard, you know this family planning? It is just opposite to what Thakur is telling. Just opposite. Or just opposite to what the scriptures are telling. So when the beginning of family planning came, there was a great charcha in Ramakrishna Mission. The headquarters had floated to all centers to think and give their opinion. Whether our hospitals, etc., should join in this family planning. You understand family planning? Right? Sex without producing children. That is called family planning. And scriptures are telling the purpose of sex is to produce children. The master married for reviving that ideal by following it himself. That is the final answer. Why master married? To show the ideal. Now when he shows the ideal, he shows it absolute. And he knows people cannot follow it in the absolute. So he says after the one or two children are born to him, you can live as brother and sisters. One doctor couple in Bareilly. They have one daughter and one son. And after that they live separate. Same house, they sleep differently. My one Chodda and his wife, they lived separately in the same house for 55 years. Family in Calcutta, where I went to take food the other day. After one son, they live in separate buildings. They eat together, live together. But joint family, several buildings are there within the building. She lives separately, he lives separately. How many examples I know? Simply because Thakur has said the ideal, they could follow this. Otherwise, where they would have gone? The master married for going the ideal or following it. Whatever said the master is done here, meaning himself, is for you all. If I do all the 16 parts, Rupee had 16 annas, therefore 16 parts, you may possibly do one. So he has to set the ideal, absolute ideal. Again, if I piece standing, you rascals will do it turning round and round. These days, urinals are made to piece standing. So if I do not follow a rule, you will go astray still. If our ideals, we are quick to point out, oh, support, he did like this, why should he not? It is for this reason only that the master took upon his shoulders the duties and responsibilities of married life and followed in practice that very high ideal before the eyes of all by actually discharging them to the furthest limit. If the master had not been himself married, the lay disciples would have said, it is only because he is not married that he is able to talk glibly on continence. It is only because he has not made his wife his own and has never lived together with her that it is possible for him to read a long sermon. He slept with her for 8 or 10 months. It is only in order to counteract such foolish ideas that the master was not only married, but he had his wedded wife in the days of her youth by his side at the Dakshineshwar. When the state of divine madness in him became normal, after he had had the holy vision of the Divine Mother, he lived together with his wife, directly feeling the manifestation of the Divine Mother in her. Worshipped her as the Mahavidya, the divine Shodashi, and then offered himself to her as the divine. What more one can do? He lived together with her continually for 8 months and even shared his bed with her. He himself went sometimes to Kamarpukur and sometimes to Jaramati, his birthplace and her birthplace, to the house of his father-in-law and spent there a month or two for the training of his wife and for her mental peace and happiness. Remembering the event of the time when the master lived with her at Dakshineshwar, the Holy Mother says even now to women devotees, the master's unprecedented relation of immaculate love with his wife, what the Holy Mother said about it. Immaculate means without sex, but loving fully. Holy Mother is telling, it cannot be expressed in words in what wonderful divine moods he passed his days and nights then. In that state of divine semi-consciousness, what strange and wonderful words he spoke and with what flow. Sometimes he laughed, sometimes wept, and sometimes was quite motionless in ecstasy. That was how whole nights passed. What a wonderful presence and what an ecstasy. The whole of my body would tremble to see that, and I would wish the night might soon come to an end. I did not then understand anything of ecstasy. One night when I saw that his ecstasy did not come to an end, I was frightened and wept and sent for Hriday, that nephew. He came and went on repeating the Lord's name in his ears, when after a long time he regained normal consciousness. Then when he came to know of my suffering, anxiety and fear, he himself taught me how in particular kinds of ecstasy, particular names and mantras of God were to be repeated into his ears. After that, I did not feel so much frightened. He would return to normal consciousness when those names and mantras were uttered into his ears. So some people misunderstand that physically they are never close together. She has to utter this in his ears. And of course, he slept together for 8 months. That person is listening to our talks now. I don't tell you name. A professor in Madras in those days. A long time passed that way when one day he asked me to go to bed separately in the music room, as he had come to know that I could have no sleep and remained in suspense as to when and what kind of ecstasy he might have. First fear, then understood, but then the whole night she has to wait. If he's like that, I will do like that. If he's like that, I will do like that. So he said, you sleep separately. This all just opposite to ordinary man. You know, doctors advise due to so much sexual attachment to live separate. The supremely revered Holy Mother says that the Master taught her then all the domestic matters, such as how to place the wick in the lamp, how to behave with each of them, and how to behave when she went to someone else's house. He taught her also devotional exercises, the reciting of the names and glories of God, meditation, samadhi, and even the knowledge of Brahman. Everything he taught. O men rearing families, Sadhana Swami Vivekananda. How many of you teach your own wives this way? How many of you can have devotion to your wives, respect and love for them all your lives this way? If for some reason or other the very contemptible physical relationship comes to an end forthwith? Compare. It is only to teach the married people that the master enacted that play of love. We therefore say that it was for you alone that this wonderful incarnation of the age was married and had no physical relationship for even a single day with his wife and maintained a sweet love for her. He did it so that you might learn that it was not for indulgence in sensual pleasure that the institution of marriage had come into being, but that it carried a very high purpose with it, only that both of you, wife and husband, might keep your aim fixed at this high ideal and be blessed by observing continence according to your capacity in married life, and only that you might prove a blessing to the modern society, devoid of vigor, devoid of grace, and devoid of power, by producing heroic and virtuous children of wonderful intelligence and memory. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, last chapter, all these are mentioned. If you want to a son, he should do like this. If you want a daughter, learned daughter, he should do like this. If you want this son to learn all the Vedas, he should do like this, to this extent. It is for your benefit that this which was not necessary to be shown to the world by its spiritual teachers of the past, Ramakrishna, Buddha, Jesus, Shankara, Chaitanya, or any other, has been shown in this age by Ramakrishna. The unique thing. Because the sex was not so prominent in those days. This unseen and unheard of sacred mode of married life has been cast for the first time in the world as the result of lifelong severe austerities and sadhana. Now, as the master used to say, cast your own lives into that ideal mode and get them shaped after it. But one or two, 3 points remain to be discussed. It may take more than 5 minutes. We'll read one at least. We must form our married life after the ideal of the master and observe continence at least partially. No good will otherwise come to us. But, says the married householder, but we see it and reply in the words of Swami Vivekananda. Speaking about our spiritual practices, do you think that each of you will become a Paramahansa Ramakrishna? That is not to be. Neither will 9 mounds of oil burn nor will Radha dance. A Bengali proverb is quoted like that. That means something impossible, that's all. Radha is not Krishna's Radha, there is some dancer named Radha. And she is asked to dance. She says, if you burn 9 mounds of oil, then I will dance. It's something impossible. Only one Paramahansa Ramakrishna is born in the world. Only one lion lives in the forest. O rearers of families, we also similarly say in reply to your but. The master knew very well that it was beyond your power to observe absolute continence living with your wife like him. He knew it, and yet he set the exacting example to you, because you might then be encouraged to do at least 1/16th of it. But know it for certain that if you do not follow that high ideal, if you do not try to look upon women as the direct counterparts of the mother of the universe, and to offer according to your capacity the selfless love of your heart to them, if on the other hand you always look upon women who are the mothers of the world with beastly eyes as your dependent slaves and instruments for producing enjoyments for you, they know that your destruction is certain and very near. Very strong language uses. And remember what happened to the race of Yadu for neglecting the advice of Krishna. as also the sad plight of the Jews who disregarded the instructions of Jesus. That means if you do not listen to avatar, you go to destruction. Treating with indifference the incarnations of the age has been the cause of the destructions of nation at all times. A few objections to the fact that the master had no physical relationship with his wife and their refutation. Shall we finish? Take 5 minutes extra. After replying to one more query, we shall finish speaking about the unprecedented manifestation of the mood of the spiritual teacher through the married life of the master and then describe other aspects of that topic. Slave to sights, tastes, and other sense objects, and strongly attached to external things, the human mind is surely thinking even now that having got married at all, it would have been well if after begetting at least one child, he gave a physical relation with his wife. Scriptures teach like this. If he had done that, perhaps it would have been proved that all men without exception have for their duty the maintenance of the divine Lord's creation. And at the same time, the authority of the scriptures refutation would not have been violated. For the scriptures say that at least one child should be produced in married life, by which man is freed from the debt to his forefather. To this objection, we reply. First, is creation really nothing more than this little too gross globe that we see? Hear, think and imagine. It is the law of creation that there should be diversity in it. It will not be very long before creation is destroyed if from this moment we all begin to think and act alike in all matters. We then ask you, have you known all the laws governing creation? And is it a fact that only for the purpose of keeping up the Lord's creation you have lost your continence? Today, be sincere in your reply and don't try to deceive yourself and others. Or as the master would say, don't commit perjury in the shrine of sentiment. Bhaver guri churi korata. That means don't tell lies to yourself. Well, let us assume for argument's sake that you are obeying that law of the maintenance of creation. What right have you to ask others to do the same? It is also a law within creation not to waste energy on ordinary things, so that the power of continence or other higher mental powers might be manifest. Who will manifest the higher spiritual powers? If, like you, everyone were to manifest the lower powers, the manifestation of such powers will be impossible in that case. So the balance is always there in the scriptures themselves. It is clear from the Holy Mother's worshipping the Master all her life as the Universal Mother that his marriage took place under the impulsion of the mood of the spiritual teacher in him. Result, Mother always worshipped him as God. That also I tell in a funny way. Secondly, it is our habit to select from the scriptures passages that are to our liking. The injunction regarding the production of a child is also similarly quoted. For the scriptures again say, according to people's fitness, Yadareva viraje tadareva pravraje. The moment you get vairagya, you go. That is, as soon as one's love for God increases and produces detachment from the world, one shall renounce it. Therefore, who would have maintained the authority of this saying of the scripture? If the master had followed your opinion, the same thing applies to the paying of the debt to one's forefathers. The scriptures say that a true sannyasin liberates by virtue of his spiritual merits the 7 immediately higher and 7 lower generations of his family. That is also in the scriptures. Therefore, we have no reason to be worried on the score that the debt of the master priest forefathers was not paid up. In order to teach us that the master tied himself down to matrimony, we can know a little of what a high and sacred ideal he has left behind for us from the fact of the Holy Mothers worshipping the Master all her life as the Mother of the universe. That's God. Now it is telling some funny. Huh? It is generally seen that a man cannot hide his weakness from his wife, though he can do it from others. So their Master's purity would have been questioned. The Master used sometimes to say to us about it, all the bigwigs, babus, judges, magistrates, etc., however big they may talk, are all, as it were, earthworms, slaves to their wives. When orders, even though unjustifiable, come from the inner apartment, they have no power to overrule them. Therefore, if anybody's wife offers sincere, heartfelt devotion to him and worships him all her life as God himself, it becomes indubitably clear that there is no dross in the ideal which he preaches. This is what we cannot say so definitely about any person other than the Master. This is not the place to describe the story of the Master's wonderful Leela of love with his wife, though there is much to say about it. So we introduce this topic only as an indication of the manifestations the Master's mood as a spiritual teacher. He never wrote that. The Thakur's love with mother as a whole book, he said. Om Sarvadharma Sthapakasvam Sarvadharma Swarupaka Acharyana Acharyo Ramakrishna Te Namaha. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.